All right, today I want to talk about how to add more screens to your HMI and how to navigate between those screens, whether it is changing something in your program or like today we are going to add like a forward and reverse button or a go to button. Especially with the HMIs we work with in the shop, right? We work with the Siemens KPT 400s, which is just a 4-inch display. It's hard to get a lot of good information on those screens at that size. But if you can have 10 4-inch displays, now you can start to really spread out that information and make it a little more readable. So that's what we want to work with today. I have a Siemens TIA portal program open. I have the PLC added. I have the HMI added, and I am here on the root screen. First thing to note, when you start this up, and a lot of you have probably noticed when you go to download, there's some errors, some of the yellow triangles. They normally have to do with these buttons down here, which is just by default from Siemens. I like to start by just getting rid of those. If I want to make my own template, I can. So if I come under screen management and come under template, I can see here's where I can edit that. So a template is just something you want to do this on multiple different screens. So you're going to make a template for it. So instead of making these buttons on every screen, you can just have a template. So you don't necessarily have to delete the template, but I come to my root screen and my properties and see here it says template under general. I just make this say none. I don't need a template. So that just clears up some of those errors. Also, just cleans your screen up a little bit, right? We don't have a ton of real estate here. So, all right. So I have my root screen. It just says welcome to HMI 1. I'm going to go ahead and add a new screen. And it just labeled it as screen 1. I'm going to add another new screen. It's going to label it as screen 2. I'm going to come here for the example, make sure I'm in screen 1. And I'm just going to throw some text here. Screen 1. And I'm going to do the same thing on screen 2, just so we know that we're changing screens. Okay. So when you power on your HMI, it always starts up on the root screen or whatever screen has this green arrow next to it. So if you have nothing on the root screen and you want to work on screen 2, you better have a method to get from the root screen to screen 2. Or you change it to have this screen pop up as your first one. So I'm going to come to the root screen here, and we're just going to make a forward and reverse button for this first example. So just go to the next screen and then go back. So I want to drag over a button, and I'm going to call this next screen. Okay. Now I'm going to give this button a event, and I'm going to say when pressed. I'm going to add a function. And then down here, remember we were in the bits, edit bits. Down here, I'm going to come to screen. So under screen, I have activate previous screen. I have activate screen or activate screen by number. So I want to activate screen. And then it's asking for a screen name, which here I can click on screen 1. Perfect. So I click this button, I go from the root screen to screen 1. Now let's come to screen 1. And we're going to do the same thing. Next screen. And we're going to add a function. Activate screen. And we are going to go to screen 2. Perfect. So now we got from root screen to screen 1, but now we want to go back to the root screen. So same way, I'm going to add a button here. I can say back. Now under the back button, I can do 2 options here. I can either activate screen and I can call up my root screen. So that way this button always goes back to the root screen. Or I can go back to previous screen. But the thing with that is if I just came from screen 2, it's going to take me back to screen 2. Back to previous screen takes you back to whatever screen you just left. So I kind of look at it as, in a timeline, like start at root screen, next, and then you step back in the same way. You also don't have to have these as a back and a next. You can just have go to root screen. You can have go to screen 1, go to start stop screen, whatever you want. But in this case, I'm going to say go back to root screen. Perfect. And then we want to do that one more time here. And then I am going to download to the HMI, and we are going to look at the real HMI here and see what it looks like. I have downloaded that project to this HMI, so we can see here I'm on my root screen and I have my next screen button. That takes me to my screen 1. I can go back to the root screen and that takes me back there, or I could go next and next screen again, and now I'm on screen 2. Then I can hit my back button, screen 1, back button to my root screen. So that's how we change screens to open up more functionality on these small HMIs or any HMI. We can also use these buttons down here. Right before I end this video, I'll switch over and show you how to address these buttons if you don't want to physically take up real estate on your screen. So if you didn't want to take up real estate on your screen by using these buttons, or you just wanted to put an icon there, we can use these quick keys as well. And the way we address those is very similar to a button. We just don't have to make it, right? So if I click F1 here, I have the same properties and events as if I would add a normal button. It puts this red rectangle here, and that's mainly to align you with where to put a graphic. Nothing actually has to go right there. But if you don't have something on the bottom of your screen, like if I would move this back button, if I didn't have something right here, you wouldn't necessarily know unless you were the programmer that F1 was the back key. So that's a lot of times where people will come down and add graphics down here in the WinCC graphic folder navigation. You can see there's a bunch of options down through here. You would have to click through them to find. So I found like a back arrow right there. Right? So if you want to do something like that instead, and then just address this button right there, same thing, right? Function, press key, add a function, and then make it go forward, back, to this screen, to that screen, so on and so forth.